Hey guys, welcome to the live stream tonight. I'm Dr. Tammy. If you're not familiar with me, I am a medical doctor. I have almost 25 years experience and I help mostly menopause women feel better and also perimenopausal, as well as people with estrogen dominance who struggle with hormone imbalance like PCOS, endometriosis, heavy periods, perimenstrual disorder, and all the things. So that's my passion. And I am super excited. I do these lives every night at 7 o'clock. So we call it the Ask Dr. Tammy segment. So if you have any questions or anything that I can help with, or at least try to find the answers for you, you can comment. If you're watching me on anything Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, then I won't be able to see your comments live. So if you would find me on TikTok, if you're not on or haven't found me on TikTok yet, because that's where I will see your comments. If I don't get to your comments, I go back through everything and always answer everybody. So I don't know where you're going to find another doctor that is available to you every single day to answer your questions. So I love you so much and I just want to help and serve. So as long as it's not too crazy busy that I can't get to all your comments, I absolutely will. So my disclaimer is I don't know how long I'll be able to answer all your questions, but for now, I'm not busy enough that I can't. So anyway, ask away. And like I say, if I don't get to them tonight, then I will absolutely go back and comment to everybody that I can. So I also want to just kind of let you know as well that menopause is very multifactorial in the way you deal with it. And you want to find someone who really understands it. In medical school, they do not teach us how to treat what we call ovarian failure because menopause is just, by definition, 1 year without periods. That has nothing to do with what we call ovarian failure, which is when our ovaries literally retire. So when we talk about how to take care of menopausal women, we're talking not about women who haven't had a period for a year, but we're talking about women who are devastated because just like if you had your thyroid out, you would absolutely treat someone with thyroid hormone. Women like me, I'm 55, women like me and other women who don't have an ovary or ovaries anymore are absolutely miserable on many, many levels. Okay, my cat, hang on just a second. I promise I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. I forgot to shut the door. So anyway, here I am again. So anyway, I'm very passionate about helping people understand, and hopefully other doctors, you might have to educate them to help them understand as well. So that's where we kind of are. So you have to take your healthcare into your own hands because it's just, it's nuts. It's just nuts. It's clown world. I can't believe it. I'm just one little girl trying to make a difference in the world. So if you have friends who could benefit from this, please share this with them as well. Okay, that's enough about who I am and what we're going to talk about. So I thought it'd be really fun to do the Advent calendar. And usually those Advent calendars start December 1st. So that's perfect. And we have 25 shopping days till Christmas, right? So there are 30 very distinct symptoms of menopause. So we can go to 25 very easily. And so what I thought I would do is every night break down one of the main symptoms of menopause. And here's one of the big myths is that everyone says hot flashes. And the reason they say hot flashes with ovarian failure, I'm not even going to call it menopause because I mean, that is so irrelevant that you don't have periods for a year. It is great that you don't have periods for a year, but only the relevancy is that you don't have ovarian hormone function anymore. So when you think about all these symptoms that come after ovarian failure, everything that we attribute to aging. So it is not hard to come up with 25 symptoms on the Advent calendar of ovarian failure. It is everything basically that you see in a nursing home. What do you see? You see broken bones, you see incontinence, you see wrinkled skin, you see people who are demented, you see people who've had heart attacks and strokes. And so when you think about that, basically that is from lack of ovarian hormones. And that is the reason that women tend to have more problems like broken bones. Number one killer of women is heart disease. And so it's all estrogen related. And everybody wants to demonize estrogen and call it the bad guy, but it's not. It actually has protective effects. So, all that said, because women are more dependent on estrogen than men are, and men have more testosterone than women do, that's where men are a little bit more protected because testosterone has different functions. But women, we are really underserved, we're gaslighted, and we're also minimized. And, because doctors aren't trained in how to deal with ovarian failure, that's when all the problems happen, and they just tell women you just need a sleeping pill or an antidepressant. And so that's where we are, right? So we have to change that narrative. So I want to draw you just a little picture. I'm all about drawing pictures, and I hope this works on my board. Okay, so if we were to graph out, and I hope this is converting correctly on here, I might have to flip the screen, but if we were to graph out from birth to live to 100, right? And let's say at age 50 is when most women go through menopause. So if we put hormones on this axis, and this could be estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, pregnenolone. I mean, we could do all the androgens. I mean, there's so many hormones that we could put here, but estrogen is usually the one we talk about. So let's just kind of work with estrogen a little bit. So at birth, our estrogen levels start to peak, and then we have periods, and then we have babies and periods or babies or whatever happens. And then around the age of 35 to 50, we go into what's called perimenopause. And at perimenopause, our estrogen starts to decline and our progesterone starts to decline. We start seeing things like hot flashes might kick in, and we start seeing women not sleeping because progesterone is your main sleep hormone. So as that declines, things really get symptomatic, and then it can even get very erratic before your ovaries literally run out of eggs. And when your ovaries, we are predetermined how many eggs we're going to have in a lifetime. When we run out of eggs, literally we flatline. We have no more ovarian function. We are in ovarian failure. And this is a crisis. I'm sorry, this is a crisis. I cannot tell you the women who are so in pain, uncomfortable, and it is not about hot flashes. The number one symptom of menopause, are you ready for it? Day one of our advent calendar is fatigue. And you ask any menopausal woman who has not been offered hormone therapy, fatigue. Partly because they stopped sleeping like 5 to 10 years ago. And so they're going to be really tired at that point. One of the interesting things is that we don't talk about this, but is this from birth to 50 where we see heart disease, broken bones, memory problems, skin changes, wrinkled skin? No, we don't see it here. Is this where we see heart disease and where we see broken bones and where we see all sorts of diseases kick in, cancers, including breast cancer? It's out here where women have no hormones. So how the heck can you blame estrogen if this is when you have the highest estrogen and this is where you have the highest risk of breast cancer or breast disease, fibrocystic breast disease, heart attacks, or stroke? And here's what happened. And I'll probably draw this graph every single night until I can just get everybody exposed to this information. Here's what happened. There was a study in 2002. And if we drew a graph of 2001 to 2025, almost 2025. And in 2002, something changed. Here, 60% of women were on hormone therapy. In 2003, 30%. We dropped down to 30%. And in 2005, 5% of women are on hormone therapy. This is huge, because if we had women who had no thyroids And we had only 5% of women who didn't have a thyroid on thyroid hormone. Can you imagine what would happen if men had no testosterone? Can you imagine what the world would be like? But yet women have no estrogen. I promise you, I do this all day long. And when I see women in my clinic, my menopausal women, and we check levels, their estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone levels are almost non-detectable. There's that little less than sign. Remember that from math? Less than 5 is what it will show. It is criminal. It is criminal to make us live like that. So what happened was there was a study in 2002, and they went out to the media, and they were actually trying to prove that estrogen was protective in heart disease, right? But what they did was they took women 10 to 15 years out and put them on synthetic hormones right here. So they had no protective benefit. And then they went on synthetic hormones right there, which are totally different than bioidentical organic hormone therapy. And they didn't have any protection. So yes, women are more prone to get breast cancer out here because they don't have estrogen. It is completely opposite of everything that you've been told. And don't take my word for it. Please go do your research and look it up. Please, please, please. Okay. So with that in mind, I just want to kind of plant that seed that that is what we are dealing with ovarian failure. I said the number one symptom of ovarian failure is fatigue. So we're going to talk a little bit about fatigue. And I think I have to flip this, but I want to practice with this a little, because if I try to flip it now and I lose you guys, I don't want to do that. So I will practice with this. But I know if you're on Facebook or Instagram, YouTube, you can see me just fine. But I'll get the bugs worked out of this, I promise. Okay, so fatigue. One thing you have to ask yourself when you're tired all the time is, when are you the most tired? So if you are tired first thing when you wake up, that usually means that you didn't sleep well. So advent calendar number night 2 or 3, like Tuesday or Wednesday, we'll talk about sleep specifically. But if you're exhausted when you wake up, that is a sign that you didn't sleep well, right? Okay, so what could be the causes of not sleeping well? Well, not sleeping well could be that you've gained weight. And when you gain weight with menopause, and I see women out here gain 5 to 15 pounds a year. And if a doctor has put you on estrogen therapy only because you've had a hysterectomy and they say you don't need progesterone, which is absolute crap, you will gain weight. And like I said, I see women gain 5 to 15 pounds a year. So can you imagine 5 years out from menopause, 25 pounds overweight? You're going to have a lot of extra mass in your throat. And when you're overweight and you gain weight in the neck, what happens? You snore. And snoring is not a benign thing. I've seen patients with high blood pressure, heart failure. There's so many things that can happen from sleep apnea and not sleeping. Sorry, maybe my cat's getting to me. So one of the things that you have to address is the weight gain and if you snore. So ask if you snore, and you might have to ask family members or a significant other. Another thing that can keep you awake is when you have decline in estrogen, you are going to have a decline in something called DDAVP. There won't be a quiz on this, I promise. But DDAVP is a hormone that allows you to not have to urinate all night long. It tells your kidneys, chill out, we are sleeping now. And if you don't have that, you're going to wake up about every 2 hours to go urinate. And when that happens, when your body wakes you up, it is really hard because melatonin levels dip as estrogen levels dip as well. They're all connected. It is really hard to get back to sleep sometimes. So that's relevant as well. So you can take notes, and I am posting these on these replays. So you can watch this later if you want to go back. Another thing, which is huge, is night sweats. And I remember when it was on my 50th birthday, it's like my ovaries failed that day. Happy birthday, right? And I remember literally having to change the bed at night. Now, this was I was getting up to speed, getting my hormones balanced. I was doing blood work. I was figuring it all out for myself, right? And luckily I have me. What about people who don't have me, right? And all of you can have me too, so I will help you. But I would just like literally wet the bed. I would have to get up, change my clothes, put a towel or a blanket down just so I could go back to sleep and sort of crawl over on the other side of the bed where it was a little more dry. So night sweats are just crippling. And then you get cold, right? So once you've been hot and sweat, now you're like shivering. So um, guys or younger people who've never had this can't really understand. But if you've had it, you absolutely understand. It is miserable. Okay. Other things that can cause you to have sleep disturbances would be things like your temperature regulation. Thyroid hormone is your body's main temperature regulation hormone. And what we find is that when estrogen declines, thyroid plummets as well. And I don't have one woman, I swear, that I've ever seen who's been 3 to 5 years out from menopause and not been treated with some form of HRT for their ovarian failure. Again, I'm just going to call it what it is, who has not struggled with thyroid. And so they've almost all got an enlarged thyroid. Almost all of them have some shift in their thyroid hormones. And you really need someone who will check all your thyroid hormones. If they're just checking a TSH, that's not enough to get a full picture of what thyroid dysfunction looks like. So it's really important that if you are getting your thyroid checked, that you do that. Most of the people in my program, their thyroid will correct if we catch it early enough and can get them on bioidentical hormones. So that's the good news. And there are different causes of thyroid dysfunction. So if a doctor has just put you on thyroid medicine and not talked about ovarian failure and not talked about if you have other nutritional deficiencies, iodine, there's so many things that play in. Carrier proteins, do you have enough protein in your system to make your carrier protein? So there's so many different factors there too, but thyroid is a big deal with that. Okay, so we've kind of talked about the things that can cause trouble sleeping. The next thing is ask when you are tired during the day. If you are tired all day long, you are just having complete metabolic crash, basically, because you just can't ever get out of the brain fog. You can't ever get out of that just feeling like I just want to go to bed. If you have episodes where you feel like more than tired, like literally you have to close your eyes and you want to go to sleep, the number one reason for that is a sugar crash, which insulin is also cross-regulating with thyroid and estrogen. But if you are so tired that you literally are like, holy crap, I have to close my eyes, I have to go to sleep right now, then that is probably an insulin crash. And you should look at what you're eating during the course of a day. I always tell menopausal women, increase your protein, increase your protein, increase your protein. And if you are pushing for at least 100 grams of protein, there won't be much room for carbs in there. So if you are eating a lot of carbs, you are not eating enough protein because there's no way you can, right? So increase your protein. Protein also builds muscle. And if you have some testosterone on board, that means that your muscle will actually burn fat for you, which is just awesome. So, okay, so let's talk about iron deficiency. One of the things that happens with menopause is that when your estrogen declines, your stomach acid also dysregulates. So that's why so many people have GI issues after menopause as well. And so if you don't have adequate stomach acid, you can't absorb your iron. So iron might be an option for you if you're really tired all day long. I would absolutely make sure that a doctor checks your iron levels, right? Because you can get too much iron. And be careful if you are on iron because it can be constipating as well. So you got to be careful with that. And vitamin D. Vitamin D can give you all sorts of fatigue. It affects your immune system, and most people don't even think about vitamin D. Vitamin D is actually a hormone, and it is super important to give your body that hormone because that hormone also regulates your estrogen and your testosterone and how it gets into the cells. So definitely iron can be an issue. Okay. Hydration. Hydration is really important. So one of the things that you can do if you're tired a lot is make sure you're hydrating well. And it's really hard to hydrate well if you are tired and stressed all day long, right? The last thing you're going to think about is to hydrate. However, to keep yourself from having to urinate in the nighttime, I would limit the hydration to about 2 hours before bedtime if you possibly can. And if you eat a lot of salt or you drink alcohol, that's going to dehydrate you, which is actually going to make you want to drink more water during the night. So you have to be really careful about what you eat before bedtime, too. If you wake up in the morning and you feel like your hands and feet are swollen, then that's really important time that you really assess how much salt you had during the course of a day, and especially with evening meals too. So if you're swelling, that's, an indication that you might be consuming something too much salt or alcohol or something like that. Okay, so all the things that can contribute to fatigue if you are more tired in the evenings, one of those reasons could be actually inactivity. So if you are not exercising throughout the day, you're not going to be as tired either. So you're going to be sort of wired and tired. So exercise is super, super important. And I always recommend strength training because strength training is one of the best things that you can do to build muscle. And if you build muscle, again, that's going to burn fat for you. But also, you don't want to exercise too late. So if you exercise too late, that might actually increase your adrenaline, which could cause problems there too. Okay, so that's pretty much in a nutshell day one of our Advent with fatigue. So I don't really see any questions. So anyway, we might make this a brief one tonight. I do want to tell you guys that you don't have to have a doctor to get your levels checked. So if you've been gaslighted or doctors have told you that you don't need levels checked, that you don't need hormones, that unless you're having hot flashes that are just miserable, that you really don't need hormone therapy, then tell them that you are an ovarian failure and that you want help. But if you can't find anyone that can help you, then absolutely, we have a program. It's called Hormone Bliss, and we do testing and we have bioidentical hormone therapy. So that can be just, a game changer for you and can really help with the fatigue, the number one symptom of menopause. So check it out. Go to hormonebliss.com. And we are running a Cyber Monday special that ends tomorrow night at midnight. So you want to get in on that. And that is hormonebliss.com. So go check it out. And we have lots of information there too. I also have my website, drtammytucker.com. And you can go there and I have lots of freebies and information as well. Okay. So thanks for joining me tonight. Hope that was helpful. Again, if you have questions, just pop them in the chat or just message me and I will get to them as soon as I can. All right, y'all have a wonderful night. I love you very much. See you tomorrow.